Right then, welcome back to the Monday Musings, and what I want to talk about today is keeping things sacred. But first, let's do the intro thingy-majobby. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Okay, keeping things sacred. Now, this comes back to something called, I'm actually going to start with a quote here. This is from Eliphas Levi from Transcendental Magic, its Doctrine and Ritual, blah, 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 etc., etc. Anyway, the quote is, "Everything is possible to him who wills only what is true. Rest in nature, study, know, then dare to will, dare to act, and be silent." And it's the be silent part I'm going to be focusing on today. But this kind of formed into a variety of different things that people talk about. The witch's pyramid, the magician's maxim. It's also called the four powers of the Sphinx. And it is to know, to will, to dare, to keep silent. Okay? And this is something which I kind of feel is missing from a lot of people's practices nowadays. It used to be like the cornerstone. In fact, I say cornerstone, it kind of is the four cornerstones of the witch's pyramid, literally. But it is one of those cornerstone foundational things that we kind of learnt along the way. But I feel, as I said, I feel it is missing nowadays, and I think it needs to come back because it's a very important thing. It forms really the basis of all magic and spellwork. However you interpret it, and it can be interpreted many, many different ways, but it can be applied to many, many different things. In order to do spellwork, a spell itself, you have to know what you want to do. And you have to know that you can do it. You have to have the knowledge to do it. Then you have to be able to will that the energy, the emotions, but at the same time hold those emotions in check so that you can actually do the work itself. And then actually to dare to actually do it, to dare to move forward, to project that energy, to project your will into the cosmos and hope you get what you want, because sometimes it comes back slightly differently. And that's where the knowledge part comes in as well, which helps in that process. But then to keep silent, you want to, if you have cast a spell, you kind of want to keep it, you want to hold it, at least for a while, until it starts to work. You need to hold it, because if you start talking about it to everybody, it lets these strands out to kind of connect to everybody, and it becomes it's this ball of energy, and it becomes less and less and less and less and less potent, okay? Because you're spreading it too thin. Also, if you start talking to other people about the working you've done, they can come along with their own thoughts and add their own thoughts, and they may be negative thoughts to the working itself, which kind of, screws everything up. And also to keep silent to yourself. This is where the lust of results aspect starts coming in. After you've done the working, forget about the working. Go about your day, go and ground yourself, have a cup of tea, whatever it is, but don't think about the working. Because if you start thinking about whether you did it right, whether you should have done it a different way, all of this stuff becomes these thoughts that start hammering at the spell itself and push it off course. So all these things we can interpret, we can add this to every working we do. We can add it to our entire practice, to whatever it is. All right. So anyway, now I've got that out of the way. Let's focus on this to be silent aspect. And keeping things sacred. So this came up in a discussion recently, and I thought I'd add it because it was actually quite an important topic to talk about. Nowadays we have Instagram and TikTok and all of these social medias where people are just posting pictures of their altars and the practices they're doing, and they kind of do a spell work and there's a picture of it. It hasn't even been gone as far as the front door, and there's a picture on the internet of the spell working and everything that was used. And this comes back to keep silent. You're not just telling this person here, a friend here and a friend there, and maybe the neighbor and the family member or whatever it is. You're putting on the internet for thousands of people to see, and you did the spell working, and it's starting to move. And as I said, before it even gets to the front door, it's on the internet and everybody's seen it. Okay, and you've passed this, you've kind of shrunk it. It's no longer sacred. It's just something that you did for likes, and that completely and utterly takes the sacredness away from it. If we just post a picture of our altar on the internet for people to like, for people to say, oh, it's very pretty, and oh, I wish I had that statue. Where did you get this from? Where did you get that from? That's just for the recognition. It's not about the work. It's not about the magical aspects. It was just to get reactions, and it's taken the sacredness away from your altar, from your working itself. So bear all of this in mind. Don't remove the sacredness from things, because as soon as you do that, it just becomes mundane. It becomes profane again. It's no longer magical. You've removed the energy, the magical energy from it, the aspects that made it potent and powerful. It's just gone. There is the question of passing on knowledge, like I'm doing on now with you on YouTube. There is the question of if we're doing this, are we removing the sacredness from it? It can be. You can, if you're doing this again for the recognition, not for the actual work itself. You don't really care about whether people take it and use it in their own magical workings to improve their own life. It's just for the likes, for the follows, for the money and all of that stuff. Then yes, it can take the sacredness away from it. But at the same time, if somebody is passing on the knowledge to other people who can then take it and make it sacred for themselves, that's adding to the sacredness. At least that's how I see it. So really just think about what you're doing with your sacred items, how you're sharing them, how you are quite possibly not fitting in with the witch's pyramid or the magician's maxim. To know. You know that you have this thing which is sacred to you. You've made it sacred. You've probably done cleansing work and consecration work on it to make it sacred, to remove it from the profane and the mundane, and it becomes sacred and magical. And you've had the knowledge to do that. You've had the will to do that, and you've dared to do it. And then after you've done it, you've taken a picture of it and put it on Instagram. And now all of a sudden it's not sacred anymore, because you didn't do it for that particular purpose. You did it just to get likes and reactions. And now it's just gone. It's no longer sacred. You did all the work to make it sacred and removed it from the profane, and now all of a sudden it's just profane again. So, consider these things. There's a lot of things we want to share with everybody. We want to go onto the rooftops and shout it. We are witches. That's fine. But at the same time, just be careful. Be careful what you're sharing. Make sure you're keeping things sacred, because that's what you need in your own life. And at the same time, there's just things we don't tell people. We keep them close to our hearts, and sometimes close to our hearts means just to ourselves. Sometimes it means with a coven and a coven is people, very, very close people that we trust with our lives. A coven is not a group of people on the internet, a group on Facebook which has thousands of people. That's not a coven. There are people on there who want to do you harm. So, if you start posting pictures of your altar or your magical workings, or whatever it is, there are people who are going to want to do you harm, and if they know their stuff, they can probably use that picture and do harm. So, be careful. And don't spread things that you need to keep sacred in your life. Okay. All right. Anyway, I think I've said enough about that. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was an important thing to actually talk about. And I'll see you next time. Next week is, or should be, the book review. So, we'll have a look at that. It's a great book. It's by Ray Baker. It's called Inside the Mirror Box. I love it. Great book. Great way of actually working, making things, actually doing spell working. It's a fantastic method. So I thought I'd read that and share the book and the methods and everything else. Okay. And I'll see you next time. Have a good one until then. Cheerio. Bye-bye.